It's Tuesday, April 9th, Wednesday, April 10th. If you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under, and this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the melting mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store to support this show, and read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. It's a double-dipping guest tonight. For the first 90 minutes of the show, we have Seth Breedlove joining us to talk about monsters. Who doesn't like to talk about monsters? The researcher from Ohio, where, well, there's a lot of strange going on there as well, loves a good monster story. His creation is Small Town Monsters. Add a .com to that. You got the website. Focused on small-town folklore, Seth and his team tell stories through the words and the experiences of those who are most affected by them. In addition to producing films, Small Town Monsters also attends events throughout the year to screen their movies and talk about these strange tales. On their website, they do have DVDs, merchandise available. Once again, the website, smalltownmonsters.com. Then, at 10:30 Pacific, 1:30 a.m. Eastern, we have Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, where we're going to talk about monster talk on the West Coast. Hour number 3, of course, I will bring you the SOR Newswire. Mr. Seth Breedlove, what a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I know it's abbreviated, only in 90 minutes, but we got to tell the audience, because they're used to 2.5-hour interviews. You've been battling the flu.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you've been battling, the kids have been battling the flu, so for you to be here for 90 minutes, I greatly appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah. It's going around. It hit our little 2-year-old over the weekend, so we've been having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that's never fun. Never, ever too fun when the kids get sick, especially the toddlers. How did you get into monsters, my friend? Let's learn a little bit about you.
Well, I mean, I started sort of looking into area cases back in probably around 2008. I had become aware of a series of Bigfoot sightings that were taking place outside of the small town that I grew up in, which is actually Bolivar, Ohio, here in Northeast Ohio. It's it's not what you typically think of. I think when you think of I just said the word think a dozen times in one sentence, but it's much more rural and sort of you're in the foothills of the Appalachians here, so it's kind of a cool area. And anyway, when I was growing up, I was sort of aware of Bigfoot sightings, but I didn't realize that they were sightings sort of taking place near my own hometown. So in around 2008, I started hearing reports that there were all these people seeing Bigfoot on their land just outside of town. It was sort of a private property. It was formerly strip mined land and a large acreage, a couple thousand acres, that people were seeing these creatures on, usually in the woods behind their homes. And I started driving around the roads down there just because it was sort of a curiosity of mine, I guess. And I came to find out that there were sightings going on actually when I was starting to look into it as well. And that was sort of the point where I started thinking, well, maybe there's more to this than just sort of urban legend or, folk tale. So I started doing research, historical background research, and, started turning up all these newspaper article reports from the 1800s and early 1900s of apes and, ape-like creatures and wild men in the woods and things like that. And that's what really sparked my interest and brought us to create Small Town Monsters in the first place. So it's been about a decade or more of doing this, but really just started in my own hometown where I grew up.
My friend, I do have to say, the state of Ohio is one screwed up place for the strange and weird. I don't understand how anybody who lives there hasn't seen something weird or profound, because with everything going on, from Bigfoot sightings to Dogman sightings to the Frogmen, aliens at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, you got it all there. You got it all in one small area.
Yeah, you've got some really sort of infamous hauntings and haunted locations as well. But yeah, there's obviously the Wright-Patterson's connection to, Kecksburg and to Roswell, but you've got the Portage County UFO chase, which is actually only about 20 minutes from me, and that's one of my favorite UFO stories. But Bigfoot itself is sort of an icon in the state, and that's been more of like a recent addition to our cryptid lore here in the Buckeye State. And that, kind of kicked off because of Don Keating, who's actually in my most recent project, who is a local Bigfoot investigator here in Ohio. And in the 80s, he really, sort of opened the eyes of a lot of people to how many eyewitnesses there were to Bigfoot in the state of Ohio, and particularly like the northeast corridor, the northeast part of Ohio down into southern Ohio. That's really that's the apex of where Bigfoot's being seen. And within that, that strange little like thumbnail shape on the state of Ohio, there's a place called the Sasquatch Triangle. It's sort of ill-defined where the Sasquatch Triangle is, but interestingly enough, like the northernmost corner, the tip of that triangle would actually be the town that I grew up in, Bolivar. So I always thought that was kind of a cool little sidebar to why I'm into Bigfoot. Maybe it was fated or something, but yeah, there's any number of like paranormal subjects in this state that you could get into and really investigate. And that's leaving out a lot of the unknowns, like or lesser known creatures. Like, Mothman, interestingly enough, is not just Point Pleasant, West Virginia, but also Gallipolis, Ohio. And because they're right across the river from each other. And while everyone connects Mothman with Point Pleasant, Gallipolis has sort of just as big of a stake in that story as anywhere. One of my favorites, actually, just going off on a tangent, one of my favorite stories that is totally underexplored is something called the Freedom Demon, which is actually sort of a Mothman-like creature that was seen back around, I think, 2013, and even earlier than that, near Ravenna, Ohio, on this one stretch of road over the course of a couple of years. All these people kept seeing this thing that they called the Freedom Demon. But there's so much here. I have a friend from Tennessee who just came up to visit recently, and in his first hour here, I took him to 3 different sort of well-known cryptid locations. One was Silver Creek Metro Park, which is about 10 minutes down the road from where I am, and that's the supposed home of the Silver Creek Dogman, which Linda Godfrey has written about. There's the Kenmore Grassman, the Kenmore area of Akron, where they found this sort of what looks like a Bigfoot nest. And then I drove them over to Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is home to the largest number of Bigfoot sightings in the state of Ohio, which is only about 25 minutes from where I am.
That's quite the location. You're right in this epicenter of the weird and strange. When you tell people what you do with small town monsters, what's the reaction you get?
Yeah, we make documentaries that sort of retell famous, monster legends, and it's very much a documentary classic journalistic approach to subjects that a lot of people don't take very seriously. And I run it with my wife Adrienne, and we have a crew, and we make films dedicated to these subjects that are usually scoffed at. We also have started doing miniseries. We're doing sort of an ongoing series of seasons, each season sort of dedicated to a different monster. The first season was all about Champ, and then we just finished up a series that's all about Bigfoot, and those are called On the Trail of. And yeah, it's completely independent, autonomous, away from the Hollywood system. Although we've been in discussions to create some sort of show about it, but thus far we really haven't bit at that particular lure yet. But yeah, it's all covering all the various aspects of the paranormal and supernatural and cryptozoology that I think so many people love, and especially Bigfoot. Obviously, so many of our films now have focused on Bigfoot, but we get into other topics like Dogman and the Mothman. Invasion on Chestnut Ridge covered the Kecksburg UFO and all sorts of UFO and ghostly activity in the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania, and then we made a movie called The Flatwoods Monster that was about sort of a UFO case that it happened in Flatwoods, West Virginia. So next up, we are covering On the Trail of Bigfoot, just came out. Next up after that is Terror in the Skies, which is a look at sort of the winged cryptid phenomenon in the state of Illinois, from thunderbirds to winged humanoids to the Chicago Mothman sightings. And then following that up, we'll have another Return to Bigfoot with Momo, the Missouri Monster, later this year. So we cover a pretty large variety of topics. The next On the Trail of series will focus on UFOs, and we have a Bell Witch movie coming out next year. So it's a large variety of topics that we cover.
How many of these stories do you actually believe in personally?
See, that's difficult because the movies focus on so many different types of phenomenon, from Bigfoot to orbs and UFOs and things like that. I could tell, just narrowing it down to something like Bigfoot, when I started filming On the Trail of Bigfoot, I was at about, 30% that these things were actually out there, just because I've been doing this for so many years and, hadn't really experienced anything at all for myself that really made me think that there was, I guess I was losing hope that these things were out there. But, over the course of filming On the Trail of Bigfoot last year, I think I had some events happen to me during that shoot that sort of moved the needle for me from fairly skeptical to, much more open to the possibility that these things were out there. And it wasn't just, like one event really. It was just the experience of filming that mini-series over the course of 2018 across 14 different states and talking to numerous researchers and investigators and witnesses and, just being reminded of what it is about the subject that I loved to begin with, which is the mystery of it all. And in my opinion, it's sort of the last, great mystery. And I was really excited to get to have the opportunity to sort of explore the entire history of the Bigfoot subject. And in doing that, I think I had my eyes open to, some things that I'd never really considered. So I wouldn't call myself necessarily a believer. I try to approach everything fairly skeptically because I want to be logical about things. But I definitely came away from it with a sort of a greater understanding of the subject. And, my mind was much more open to the possibility that these things might be out there.
I think a lot of people out there do believe that there could be a Bigfoot out there. But when we get into sea monsters like Champ that you have looked into, or the Beast of Bray Road, Dogman, Mothman, a lot of people tend to lean towards more the folklorish side or legendary side of things. Where do you stand on deeming some of these creatures real and maybe just a nice urban legend that just tells a great story?
Yeah, I don't know that I would ever go so far as to just rate one of these off as like a nice urban legend. I believe there's something at the root of all of the stories that we've covered so far. What that is, I'm not entirely sure, but I know enough from talking to the witnesses I've talked to know that they weren't making up a story, at least for the most part, that they really did experience something and believed that they experienced what they said they experienced. So, in the case of something like Mothman, I don't necessarily think there's a simple explanation or even one explanation for what was going on in Point Pleasant from 66 to 67. And we're going to delve back into that subject again next year. But, and in the case of the Bray Road Beast, it went from bizarre to weirder and weirder and got, more and more strange the more we looked into that story. It started out as, I guess what I would have termed as like urban legend or folk tale. But then once you really started talking to people around town and you start hearing from people what, they claim to have seen or experienced, it sort of morphed. That particular story especially morphed right in front of our eyes. I mean, we did an interview, with the animal control officer. And so real quick, though, for listeners who might not be familiar with that story, the Beast of Bray Road was this werewolf-like creature that was seen outside of Walworth County, Wisconsin, outside of Elkhorn, Wisconsin, in Walworth County, on this one stretch of road called Bray Road. And this took place, sightings still continued today, but sort of the golden age of it was the late 80s and very early 90s. And, we were making a movie about that. And at some point during the making of the movie, we interviewed the Walworth County Animal Control Officer, who actually was taking all the reports from witnesses of a werewolf-like creature. And he had a file. He actually had a file in his filing cabinet marked werewolf. And this was a government official. This was someone who was legitimately, involved in local government, and he had a file marked werewolf. And he had also been investigating a series of bizarre animal mutilations that were taking place around town that he believed were occult related. And he came to believe at the end of his findings that the Beast of Bray Road was somehow tied to those occult rituals. He wasn't actually even closed off to the fact that what people were seeing was some sort of occult-like beast that it had been called forward from, hell or something like that. I mean, it was really, really unusual interview. And so I came away from that film, originally I went into it thinking this is probably folktale or something, but I came out of it thinking I don't know that there's a real, clear reason for why people were saying something in that area, because in some of the cases they seemed to be seeing just a large wolf, an abnormally large wolf, and in other cases they were seeing something that looks very much like a classic sort of werewolf. The first few cases were like that. And I always find that witnesses in general don't have a lot to gain from making up these stories. So I tend to believe that what they're telling us is true if it's a witness that I've vetted and I've talked to, and I am willing to interview them. In the first place, it's probably because I think they're, I think their story is legitimate. So it comes down to a case by case basis, and there's been very few cases where I just automatically wrote it off as a folktale or a legend. It seems like the deeper you dig into these stories that we cover, the more bizarre they come, the more unsettling they become, and the less the answers are readily apparent.
What's the goal? Is it to prove that these creatures exist, that they are out there, or is it just to capture these incredible stories that people have?
Yeah, I really don't care about proving anything to our audience. The biggest thing for me is capturing the stories. I think the stories on their own are fascinating and worthy of being told and retold and remembered, especially when you boil it down to sort of a regional scale, a regional historical scale. And that's what got me into doing small town monsters in the first place. It's all right there in the name. It's about the idea that these small towns have their own sort of rural legends, and in a lot of cases those stories get lost to time. So at least some part, and I wouldn't go all highfalutin and act like we are PBS or anything like that, but some part of what we do is based around capturing these stories in a bottle and hopefully helping to preserve them, for the future. And in one of our upcoming films, someone says it talks about the historical importance and cultural importance of remembering these things, because, you know, for the most part, people might not believe in the factual reality of these monsters, or legends, or however you want to look at it. But the stories are huge in the lives of the witnesses and the people who are connected to the witnesses and the people in these small towns who were impacted by these events. So even if it's someone who, you know, even if it's a town that completely turned its back on its local legend, like in the case of Elkhorn and the Beast of Bray Road, that case had a huge impact on that community and a huge impact on the lives of the people that were there. And I mean, leaving that entire part of it out, these are still very exciting, very entertaining stories, you know, that are, like I said, they're worthy of being told and retold. So, and if you can do that in a way that is truthful and honest and objective, you know, and when I say objective, I don't mean trying to push an agenda. I don't mean trying to, you know, push a skeptical viewpoint or a pro viewpoint. Really just let the people, the investigators and the witnesses tell these stories in their own words. And then we just, you know, hopefully are doing that in the most entertaining way possible. And, I mean, the audience has grown by leaps and bounds for Small Town Monsters over the last 3 years, 4 years. So I think people are responding to the way we tell these stories and the fact that we aren't trying to push, you know, an agenda on our audience.
We got about 30 seconds here before we got to go to break. You have a bunch of movies out. Tell us a little bit about them, and then we'll break them down as we go along in the night.
Okay. Yeah. Minerva Monster was the first movie. Beast of Whitehall was the second. Boggy Creek Monster was the third. Fourth was Mothman of Point Pleasant. Fifth was Invasion on Chestnut Ridge. Sixth was the Flywoods Monster. Seventh was the Bray Road Beast. Eighth was On the Trail of Champ. And 9 is On the Trail of Bigfoot. And then we've got Terror in the Skies coming out in about a month and a half. So there's no easy way to break each of those down in less than 30 seconds.
No, that's all I needed. We'll get more into it. Small Town Monsters creator Seth Breedlove, our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back with more Monster Talk right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Good to have you all with us. Remember, a great way to support what we do on this show, two ways, actually. You can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. That's where we put our archives in. Hit that subscribe button and do a little shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website. Just click the shop tab. Plethora of goods in there that you'd look pretty darn good in. So go shopping tonight while you listen. We're talking monsters tonight from Small Town Monsters. We have Seth Breedlove, movie maker, Bigfoot researcher, cryptids researcher. Man, if it's a monster, he's going for it. That's what we like about him around here. Seth, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks again for having me.
Is there a creature out there anywhere in North America, if we just focus here, that you haven't done a movie on yet that you want to? Is there a story that's just, you have that burning desire?
I mentioned and this is not like a traditional monster case. I've got a couple of those. The one that springs to mind is that Portage County UFO chase. And we're going to get to it on the trail of UFOs, but that's a story I've always been really fascinated with because it involves multiple members of law enforcement, and they chase this UFO, all the way from Ohio into Pennsylvania. But as far as like a monster case, like a sort of classic monster case, there was a movie we were supposed to make after our first movie, Minerva Monster, and it was going to focus on 3 different monster cases from the state of Ohio. But we ended up making a movie called Beast of Whitehall next, which took us out of Ohio and into New York. So this movie was going to focus on these 3 cases from Ohio. One was about a creature called the Charles Mill Lake monster, and that is sort of an unknown cryptid. It's I think Lauren Coleman wrote about it at one point, but it really, it's kind of been forgotten. But in the 50s, there's and it's actually maybe 40 minutes from where I live. It's not far from where I live at all. But in the 50s, these 2 young boys claimed that they saw this sort of armless monstrosity, this amphibious sort of creature come out of this lake. They actually found footprints, took footprints, and you can look up the original newspaper articles today still. And right on the front page of the local paper there, is this giant gill-like footprint that was found at Charles Mill Lake. And that's not the film, but that was one of the cases that I loved. But the other one that I really, the one that I want to make a movie, I would have loved to have made a movie about it, was the case of this creature called Big Head. And Big Head was near Ashland, Ohio. And again, like Ashland's only probably 45 minutes from where I live. But in the 70s, actually in the same summer as the Minerva Monster case that broke out in Minerva, Ohio, 1978, there was a series of sightings of this creature they called Big Head. In retrospect, I didn't really connect the two at the time, but in retrospect, it bears a lot of similarities to Momo, the Missouri Monster. It was this, very shaggy, hairy, Bigfoot-like creature with a head that kind of resembled a pumpkin. It was like a massive pumpkin-shaped head, and they called it Big Head. And there was a family that saw a creature behind their house near some railroad tracks a number of times during that summer of 1978, and those sightings sort of started taking place then all around the area with other people locally, other residents of that area claiming to have seen Big Head. But the most fascinating thing about that case to me is that it's that 1978, the summer of 1978 in Ohio seemed to be a really good year for strange creature reports, because you have a whole flap of them just sort of erupt around the state of Ohio, especially during the really warm summer months like July and August. But those are two of the monster cases that I would love to make a movie about. Unfortunately, in both cases, the original witnesses are gone. At least to my knowledge, the Charles Mill Lake Monster witnesses are gone. And unfortunately, in the case of Big Head, I actually set out to make that movie. Went so far as to contact the original witnesses and came to find that one of them is not in his right mind anymore, and one of the other witnesses is dead, and then the father, who was also involved in those sightings, had passed away. So that's something we run into quite a bit, unfortunately, is your biggest enemy is time, because you're trying to get to these witnesses, before they sort of take their story to the grave. And that's a big part of what Small Town Monsters is all about, is preserving those stories. And unfortunately, that was one case where we got there too late.
In regards to the people who are having these experiences, before we get into the whole monster breakdown, how do you tell whether someone is pulling your leg on what they've seen or they've actually had an experience?
There's no way to definitively prove, that any of these people are 100% telling you the truth. But I did work in newspaper reporting for 8 years as a freelancer, and I have a fairly good handle on people. So, there's been a couple cases where we interviewed someone and they were clearly not telling us the truth. And, in those cases, their stories were exercised entirely from the film. And in both of those cases, they were sort of out to get, some type of compensation for their interview as well. So there's occasionally that sort of thing happens, but it isn't very often. I mean, for the most part, it's like I said, for the most part, I find that the witnesses we interview have nothing to gain, from telling people that they saw a monster other than ridicule. They don't typically get, fame and fortune because they claim to have seen a Bigfoot or a UFO or whatever. I think the negatives that go along with those things are much more prevalent than the positives. And so, yeah, we most part, I think everyone we've interviewed, with one or two exceptions, have been completely honest with us about their sightings. And I'm strictly saying that as, from sort of knowing some of these people and building a relationship with them and feeling like I at least have some sense of, if they would be lying and what they'd even have to gain from lying to me. I always go back to the perfect example is Ed and Fred May, who claimed to have seen the Flatwoods Monster in Flatwoods, West Virginia back in 1952. And they're both in their 70s now, but when this happened, they were kids. They were, like 5 and 7 years old. They were really young. And they claimed to have seen this UFO go streak across the sky and land on top of the hill. They went up to the top of the hill, and then they encountered something strange, this massive 13-foot tall object. And that story became something else entirely once the media got a hold of it, and it was written about in UFO books and things like that. And then it became sort of this, they went up this hill and they actually saw some sort of giant creature that came at them with its arms outstretched and all these things. None of that was true. What they saw seemed to be some sort of hovering rocket-like object. So that when I interviewed them, I could tell, they have nothing to gain here. You essentially had to convince them to tell their story, and they had spent years being ridiculed for claiming they had seen what they said they saw. So I came away from that completely believing both of those men, and actually they consider them friends now. So, there's not much a witness has to gain from talking about this on camera.
I think you bring up a good point. A lot of people don't want the attention. They don't want the aspect. They just want the answers to what is going on. Do you find that as well? That these people who have these experiences, they just want to know what the heck is going on.
Yeah, and a lot of times we've had experiences where a witness will tell us to turn the camera off, and then they'll divulge more of what happened to them, and things that they didn't want to talk about on camera. And there was one case in particular when we were making Invasion on Chestnut Ridge where a witness had told us some things on camera that were pretty unnerving, and on their own, it seemed like that would have been as unnerving and weird as things could get. A witness named Bray talked to us during the making of Invasion on Chestnut Ridge, and you can see it in the movie. He talks about he was a UFO investigator during the 70s and 80s, and during one of his investigations, he had a weird event happen where he saw what he thinks was a UFO land, and shortly after that, he began having missing time scenarios. He'd be driving back roads, and he'd arrive at his destination and find that 3 hours had passed when it should have been 15 minutes. And, just weird things started happening to him. And then it started getting weirder because he started finding, strange things in his house, and he was seeing things in the mirror and all kinds of really creepy things. And then his grandson, who was staying with him at the time, started telling him that at night, there were men that were coming through a hole in the ceiling to visit him. And that was the point where Barry burned all of his research and completely walked away from paranormal investigation. But it wasn't the end of what happened to him. And he went on to tell us, he had us turn the cameras off, and he told us about some really horrific sort of some things that had happened to him that he did not want to talk about on camera. And that stuff is not easy for a witness to divulge. And a lot of the times the biggest thing they want is, it isn't even necessarily answers, because I think in a lot of cases they kind of have a sense of what's going on. It's what do I do? What can I do to stop this, or what can I do to process it? Or sometimes they just want to talk about it, get it off their chest and tell someone else about it. And I think that's why podcasts podcasts right now where people just call in and tell their experiences. I think that's why that's so big right now. I think a lot of people just want to get it off their chest. I saw something strange. I never told anyone about it because I didn't know what I saw. I didn't understand what I experienced. And, it's a difficult thing, I think, for a lot of these people, especially when you get into situations like Barry's and the stuff that Barry experienced. And the fact that the ridicule factor is so high, I think it leaves witnesses feeling isolated a lot of the times, like they're completely alone. So maybe I think in a way, at least for some of them, talking on camera is actually sort of therapeutic because they're going to connect with an audience, whether they ever actually meet that audience or not, more so than a witness chasing attention. I think that's at least part of the impetus for why someone would go on camera and talk about what happened to them.
In regards to the movies you make, let's talk about Bigfoot here for a minute, because we're going to be talking Bigfoot after you're done tonight. We're going to get into that with Eric Cooper as well. There's a big debate on what Bigfoot really is. In everybody you have talked to who's had eyewitness encounters with this creature, what do you think we're dealing with here?
I mean, my personal opinion is that it's some sort of undiscovered ape. And that just goes back to the fact that is where the predominant amount of evidence is leading us. I understand there's the paranormal aspect, and there's paranormal. There's definitely cases where people claim paranormal activity surrounding Bigfoot. However, I think that is a tiny percentage, a minuscule percentage of the actual amount of Bigfoot reports that come in. I spent the better part of a year sort of traveling the country and spending time with various Bigfoot groups and Bigfoot research groups. And, there were almost none. In fact, I can't actually recall any other than when I was on the Chestnut Ridge. Any situations where I was speaking to an investigator and they started talking about, cases that had come in that had sort of the paranormal Bigfoot aspect to them. For the most part, what I was discovering or, finding was that people were seeing some sort of large, upright, bipedal, hairy creature that liked to stay hidden, that tended to stick to the most rural, sort of isolated places it could find. It behaved in a way that mimics typical ape behavior as we know it. It leaves behind foot impressions that remind us of a primate. And, for me, that's where the bulk of the evidence leads us. I mean, when it comes to the paranormal aspect, I thought it was really telling. I interviewed Don Keating, who was a Bigfoot investigator for 30 plus years, 40 plus years. And I asked him, like, in all that time, how many reports did he actually take that involved UFOs or something very, out of the typical realm of like cryptozoology. And his answer was none. Like in 40 years, he didn't take a single report that involved UFOs. Now, I do understand that there are locations around the United States where strange things happen. And the Chestnut Ridge is one of those places. Skinwalker Ranch is another where it seems like phenomena tend to merge. But for me on a personal level, the evidence leads me to believe that if these things exist, it's some sort of undiscovered primate. It's some sort of biological animal that's trying to stay hidden and knows enough to avoid us at all costs.
See, I lean the other way. I'm in the minority. I think there is something special about the creature. I just can't figure out what. And at times, I think in the Bigfoot community that many of the researchers are very naive to that fact because they don't want to go down that road for fear of infecting their own credibility with something negative or blasphemous that people are going to laugh at. Until we figure out what this creature is, I firmly believe, and once again, it's my opinion, I firmly believe that we got to investigate all aspects because centuries of First Nations or American Indian claims of what this creature could be shouldn't be ignored the way we're ignoring them, though.
Mm-hmm. No, it's like I said. There's definitely a history of stranger aspects to the phenomena. I just think that the majority of it tends to point the other way. But there definitely are entrenched viewpoints and people who hate other people who don't have the same viewpoint as them. And I just talked about this in an interview with a writer from Rue Morgue magazine this past week. How there's all these fractured camps within the Bigfoot community, and people have their opinions on what Bigfoot is, and they don't fraternize with people that have opinions, that run contrary to their own. Whereas, that isn't really my stance on the subject at all. I'm fascinated by all angles and love the stories regardless of, my own personal sort of opinion. I mean, the thing about On the Trail of Bigfoot, the miniseries I just finished, that's different from our other films is I think On the Trail has allowed me to sort of put my own personal viewpoint on it. But whereas the films, I approach very objectively as possible and completely keep myself out of those stories. I was in On the Trail of Bigfoot. I'm narrating it. It's all told from my point of view. So it's a little different in that case. So I was able to sort of, at least add my own viewpoint, but I also let the various researchers tell their own point of view. So there is the paranormal and the UFOs and all that stuff is represented within the context of that miniseries as well, because it's an important part of the history of the subject, regardless of my own personal, opinion on what Bigfoot might be if it exists.
In Ohio, how many sightings a year do you believe there are?
I'm not sure. I know it's one of the, the supposedly it's like one of the top 3 states in the union, for Bigfoot sightings. And, I don't know what that is attributed to. I don't know if that's because it's a fairly populated state, so there's more people, so you have more people that can see, Bigfoot. But there are a lot of reports here, and a lot of them take place in areas that would be surprising to people from someplace like, say, British Columbia or the Pacific Northwest, because of the fact that, you're talking about, places like Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which is 20 minutes up the road from me. That is a very large national park that's sandwiched in between the 2 of the largest cities in the state of Ohio. It's sandwiched in between Cleveland and Akron, Ohio. But that is, there's a huge number of BFRO reports that have come in from that park. So it's strange when you get into Ohio. It probably makes a lot of sense that I created Small Town Monsters being from Ohio, because of the fact that, this is a place where if there are these creatures, if you do have these stories, it's going to be happening in your own backyard. It's not going to be in some isolated pocket of wilderness somewhere, because we don't really have, wilderness. There are areas in southern Ohio, certainly, where you could have, large forested areas. But for the most part, there's a lot of developed, land where I grew up. And so
right.
if there's a monster, it's going to be right outside the window behind your house.
Well, one day, hopefully that monster shows up. Seth Breedlove will be here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. He's got to deal with sick kids, so he's going to call it early in about half an hour. His website, smalltownmonsters.com. Highly suggest you check it out. Eyewitnesses to real stories, real encounters. Definitely worth the look. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR, where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com, where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother Is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacy, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Chris Cogswell, Chris George Zuger, Reality Paranormal, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in New in Georgia, and on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Good to have you with us. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What is this? Ecdysiast. Ecdysiast is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Do a little shopping in our Spaced Out Radio store because it's a great way to support what we do. And, of course, you can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, Seth Breedlove. His website, smalltownmonsters.com. Great documentaries and movies about people's encounters with strange, cryptid-type creatures. And once again, you can find everything at smalltownmonsters.com. Seth, great to have you with us.
Yeah, I'm having a blast.
We don't talk a lot about sea monsters on this show, and you did a movie about Champ from Lake Champlain. What drove you to that area?
Actually, that is the only documentary we made that I solely produced. I actually didn't direct that one, but my friend Alexander Pedikov, who lives in the New England area, he had been fascinated with that subject for a while, and I was as well. But that was a story that I just did not see us being able to cover in one film. So he had actually set out to make sort of a 5-episode miniseries all about the history of Lake Champlain. Part of what fascinated me about it was the idea that you've got this massive lake right here in North America that supposedly has our own version of the Loch Ness Monster, but the history behind that area and how long people have been seeing something on the lake or in the lake goes back centuries, and that's super intriguing to me. And when he really started delving into the history and research of Lake Champlain and Champ, I thought that was one of the most fascinating pieces of the entire project, because he was finding things out that I had no idea about, like the fact that there was like an entire that was moving across the lake. Like 100+ people saw something on the lake that day, some sort of creature. There were these sort of petroglyphs that were found on a stone in a river that emptied into Lake Champlain with what looks very much like a Champ type monster. So it was more than anything for me. It was the history or the historical aspect of Champ, and then also just the fact that is a really weird part of the country. We made a movie in Whitehall about a series of Bigfoot sightings that happened there in 1976, and Whitehall sits on Lake Champlain. It sits right on the shores of Lake Champlain. So there's sort of and while we were making that movie, we heard any number of weird encounters, dogmen. There were 2 police officers who claimed to have seen a pterodactyl essentially sit down in a tree or, a light in this tree near them. They call that area one of those hot spots. It's a triangle that seems to be attracting all sorts of strange phenomena.
Pterodactyls, that is one scary creature. We have had Jonathan Whitcomb on this show talking about the pterodactyl/ropens. Do you believe they're still around, that there are pockets of those? I mean, this is a bird that's supposed to be extinct for, 60 million years.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know what I think of the pterodactyl thing right now. And I've actually spent a lot of time on that particular topic in the last year because of the fact that we're making a movie that covers, more recent pterodactyl type creature sightings. When it comes to the Thunderbird enigma, I definitely think that Thunderbirds are a possibility. Just abnormally massive birds that could be some sort of prehistoric, descendant or something like that. I can buy into that. Pterodactyls, I'm not as positive that there's, a place for them to hide unless it was really in the, the desert areas of the American West. I mean, that I could see, New Mexico, Arizona, that kind of thing, Nevada even. But, when it gets up into the Midwest and New York, I'm not so sure that a living, prehistoric remnant makes a lot of sense. You almost start to wonder if it isn't some sort of, if there isn't something paranormal going on when it comes to that.
There's a First Nations reserve north of me, a few hours here in British Columbia, that actually believes that many of their missing persons in that area have actually been taken by roping and used as food for this creature. And they learn about it.
Yeah, it reminds me of so in Alton, Illinois. There was the Native Americans in that area had painted this giant monster on the side of this cliff called the Piasaw bird, and the Piasaw bird was always drawn as this kind of like bizarre, monstrosity, almost like a skinwalker with wings or something like that. But it's still there today. They've recreated the mural on the side of this cliff, and it's sort of the local mascot for the town of Alton. But if you look into the legend, it's really bizarre because this Native American tribe claimed that there was this monster that lived in the caves behind the cliffs along the Mississippi River, and they would have to sacrifice a member of the tribe or livestock or something to the Piasaw bird each year, and it would come down and usually take members of the tribe or whatever and take them off and apparently devour them. So eventually the chief, one of the native chiefs, decided he'd had enough, so he gathered his men, and they actually went and supposedly tried to kill the Piasaw bird. And that's sort of passed into legend as like one of the more intriguing sort of local folk tales down in that area of Illinois. But I've heard it actually told that some people believe that maybe the Piasaw bird was some sort of ropin or pterodactyl. And actually in our film Terror in the Skies, the way the artist's rendition of the Piasaw bird is presented is as an extinct remnant of the ropin or pterodactyl. So that's kind of an interesting side story that might speak to that actually a little bit.
We see a lot of these creatures, and even looking on your website, whether it's Mothman, Flatwoods Monster, the monster at Chestnut Ridge, which Ronald Murphy, if you've never dealt with him, you definitely want to deal with him, has written a great book on Chestnut Ridge. These monsters all seem to have demonic red eyes. What do you think that's all about?
I don't know. It's definitely one of the more intriguing aspects of these stories, and that even does extend to Bigfoot. You know, you've got there are quite a number of Bigfoot reports that involve people seeing these strange red eyes. You know, as far as some sort of biological explanation, I have no idea. The Beast of Bray Road was described as having, you know, bright red eyes. So that particular description seems to point to something more, you know, otherworldly, something very bizarre, supernatural, paranormal. So I really don't know when you get into those really bizarre physical traits, particularly the red eyes. I don't want to ever have to encounter something that has bright red, glowing red eyes.
Yeah, me either. It just seems doomed. What is the weirdest or strangest story that someone has told you about one of these cryptid creatures that just stands out to you?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it comes down to the Beast of Bray Road as far as like the weirdest, because of you know, the stories aren't particularly weird until you examine what the witnesses are describing. And, you know, the idea of a biological werewolf existing in America is somewhat absurd. You know, like how does it live? How does it manage to stand on legs that are, you know, smaller than it would need to be to hold something of that weight and size, all those things. And yet that is exactly what the witnesses, you know, we spoke to are describing as sort of a classic werewolf. But I think those initial encounters with the Beast of Bray Road, where, you know, there was Doris Gibson, who was driving down Bray Road late at night on Halloween, actually, and she saw something crouching beside the road. Well, actually, no, Doris thought she hit it. She was driving down a fog-covered road. She thought she'd driven over a dog, pulled to the side of the road, got out of her car, and was actually chased back to her car by this, what she said was a bipedal wolf-like creature. It chased her back to her car. She jumped in the car and drove off, and it actually grabbed at the car and left, you know, scrapes, claw marks down the back of the trunk of her car. And then the Lori Andreezy sighting, which was actually technically the first sighting. Lori was driving home from work one night. She saw a creature crouching beside the road. She pulled up next to it, slowed down a little bit to try to get a look at it. And it was a wolf-like, yet bipedal, what she actually later referred to as it almost looked like Satan. That was how she saw the devil that night, is kind of how she put it. And it was eating roadkill. When she saw it, when it looked up at her, it sort of held the roadkill out in this very strange way. Those are probably my favorite eyewitness stories, or some of the weirdest eyewitness stories, because they're so strange, and yet they're just believable enough. The idea of what they're describing is believable enough that it makes it very unnerving. You know, some of the monster stories you hear, like the Flatwoods monster, when you first hear that story, it sounds so absurd. You're like, okay, well, that's just a fun folktale. You know, obviously, when you actually talk to the witnesses, what they're describing is something completely different in the case of the Flatwoods monster. But, you know, when you hear those Bray Road Beast descriptions, they're bizarre and unusual, but they're just believable enough to make it incredibly creepy.
Do you believe that many of these creatures are from people who are intoxicated, high on some sort of narcotic, maybe having some sort of schizophrenic episode? Or do you believe that the majority of them are true cases that people just cannot understand, and it affects them in an emotional way?
No, no, I don't buy into the, you know, intoxicated, you know, smoking pot, whatever you want to come up with, sort of skeptical response to eyewitness cases. I believe that, you know, for the most part, the people that we've talked to are people who genuinely believe they experienced something unusual and have been trying to process it in many cases for decades. And you know, it's like we said earlier, it's something that doesn't leave them and sticks with them for the rest of their life. I actually, one of the Bray Road Beast original witnesses, one of the very first Bray Road Beast witnesses, contacted me a couple of weeks ago to tell me that she had watched the movie and that she was really pleased with the way it turned out. And you could tell just in her message that what happened to her still affects her. And, that seems to sort of speak for a lot of witnesses of unusual, creature sightings. I don't think it's something that they can just let go of or walk away from. I think it sticks with them for the rest of their lives.
With you haven't seen anything on your own yet, though. You're still waiting.
I saw, last summer we were in a place called Area X in the Ouachita Mountains in Oklahoma, where there's a group that has been going in there for about 20 years looking for Bigfoot. They go in from April until November. We went in with them for 2.5 days, and in that 2.5 days we experienced all sorts of bizarre activity, most of it audible, like tree knocks and strange screams in the woods and stuff like that. But we did, on one of the nights, we saw a pair of glowing eyes watching us from a hill. And I say glowing because, to me, in that moment, that's what I was seeing, were two eyes that seemed to be glowing. It was a really dark night. It didn't look like there was anything for them to be reflecting in terms of eye shine. That's not to say that there wasn't, but to me, there were two bright green eyes watching us from the side of this hill. And one of the guys, when I said, when I told him what I was seeing, he stood up with a flashlight for whatever reason. He turned the flashlight on. As soon as he did, I watched these eyes go sort of sideways across this hill while still staring at us. But in terms of things I've seen, that is the only thing I've seen that is really unusual. Not necessarily unexplainable, because you could say, well, it might have been a mountain lion or something like that. But it was a really unusual event, and it was happening in a place where we had definitely been sort of documenting some very strange sounds and calls and things like that, and where someone had actually claimed to have seen a Bigfoot the day before.
Do you believe that it's just by chance that people are seeing these, or that they're just at the perfect place at the perfect time? I tend to think that it's by chance, that in a case like the Minerva monster case, it was just a family that happened to be, living with a very large pocket of isolated sort of rural land behind their house, and they were throwing food in this pit behind their house at night, and I think that they attracted something, that was looking for something to eat. So for the most part, I think it's just chance or happenstance that people, tend to encounter these things a lot of the time. Now, that changes dependent on the phenomenon we're talking about too. I'm pretty much strictly talking about Bigfoot, but when you get into something like Mothman or, some of the more supernatural or possibly demonic, sort of creatures that we've covered in our films like The Beast of Bray Road, there seem to be other aspects to it that I don't quite understand or have yet managed to sort of wrap my brain around. But for, when it comes to Bigfoot, I think you can try to put yourself in the right place to see one, and maybe you will, but for the most part, you probably won't, because we've had researchers like John Green and Renee DeHinden who looked for Bigfoot for decades and never saw anything. So I think a lot of the time it is chance. Definitely is. And in Ohio, with all the strange that is happening there, is there one creature that you would like to see? Excuse me. Is there one creature that you would like to see? Because if I was in Ohio, I'd be looking for the frogmen. I would want to see them. That would trip me out.
Yeah. I love that story. I also like the melon heads, which is the melon heads aren't far from here either. But I think it would just be Bigfoot. I'm really basic. I've been looking into that subject for so long that at this point, that's the thing I would like to I'd like to see for myself. If not Bigfoot, it would be the Charles Mill Lake Monster. As cool as the Loveland Frog is, the Charles Mill Lake Monster didn't have arms, and its eyes were kind of like set into its chest. So it sounds super weird. And it's such a bizarre story, and these kids that claim they saw it, like I'd love to see something ridiculous and insane like the Charles Mill Lake Monster.
Yeah. What is it about lake monsters that just intrigues us? Like a couple hours south of me, there is the Ogopogo. And British Columbia, I believe, has 2, maybe 3 so-called sea monsters out there. But what is it about them that just makes us, want to see them and be a part of it? Like, it doesn't stop people from going in the waters that are collectively supposed to be infested with these monsters. They still do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's water in general. I think bodies of water, there's something mysterious about water, especially water that, is where you can't see the bottom. Like the deeper the body of water, the more rich the legends that surround it, I think. Because we have Lake Erie right here above where I am. And Lake Erie has its own, monster, supposedly. And there's all sorts of legends and lore surrounding Lake Erie beyond even just lake monsters, with ghost ships and UFO sightings and all sorts of stuff running rampant. I think it's just the large bodies of water in general. There's something very terrifying about like the open ocean. In that we seem to know more about outer space than we do about what actually is in our own ocean, and I think that that probably extends in some way to our lakes. But it is strange that lake legends seem to be such a big deal. Especially on a global scale when you expand out to Ogopogo, obviously, but Loch Ness and all that. Champ here in Ohio and the Flathead Lake Monster in Montana. I mean, there's any number of lake monsters. I think every state actually probably has their own lake monster, and some of them probably have multiple. But I think it's just the fear of what might lie right beneath you in the water that you can't see.
My friend, we only got about 1 minute left with you. Let our audience know where they can find your movies, your website, and more information about what you do.
Yeah, all the movies are available on DVD at smalltownmonsters.com, or you can stream them all on Amazon and Vimeo on demand, VidiSpace. Some of them are available on iTunes and Google Play and Vudu, and Tubi TV has a couple of them. And then, we're on smalltownmonsters.com and onthetrailof.tv. which is the official home of On the Trail. And we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. And each year we run a Kickstarter, and that's what funds our films that we make throughout the year. So we just finished up our 5th back in February. So if people are interested in watching the movies, they're all on Amazon.
Seth Breedlove, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. It's a short visit. We got to do a longer version in the future, my friend. Coming up next, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. More monster talk right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you along for the ride. Remember, if you want to check out any of our archives, you can do so on our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And also, a great way to do a little shopping, go to our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, collect some swag, and it's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. We want to say thank you to Seth Breedlove for coming in the first 90 minutes of the show, taking us to the news tonight for the next hour. Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. He is a paranormal investigator through a different means, not only investigation on the ground, but his team also does things through astral travel. They deal with ghosts, aliens, cryptids like Bigfoot, and he's got one heck of a beard as well. Eric Cooper, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, my beard's turning gray.
Well,
I don't know.
Isn't?
Maybe
whose isn't?
Is it because I turned? It's because I turned 50. That's what it is. But it's always a pleasure to be here, Dave.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Mike. All right, I do. Past couple of days, as the snow has been melting up here in the mountains in the high regions, he's been out kind of looking for some tracks. Well, he's met up with some pretty interesting people recently. Pretty interesting people. And I can't say too much, but we've got tipped off to a couple of hot spots. And one of the things that Mike confirmed lately is the fact that a lot of the logging companies up here, Coop, and I'm sure it's the same way in Washington State where there's a lot of big trees. A lot of the logging companies and their employees are having some major experiences with Bigfoot. Sasquatch up north here, but they have literally told their employees, do not mention a thing, because they do not want anybody taking away their forested area. That's a huge chunk of what they do during the year, considering their season is seasonal. Do you get that and reports from loggers down there as well?
You know, and I'm excited because it's actually well, not funny you mentioned it, but I'm actually supposed to meet up with a local soon who's got reports from his employees and himself. And I believe he was a trucker or a logger up here locally. So I'll have more to follow on that for sure. But, yeah, I would totally agree because, you know, look at the spotted owl in Oregon. The minute they have the spotted owl, which is an endangered species, they shut down all the logging industries. And when you're talking mountain areas like what we live in here, that kills jobs, that kills economy, that kills income. So and that makes total sense, and it would make sense too why the government isn't going to come out and say, "Yep, there's Bigfoot," because that's going to kill economy in a lot of different industries. In a lot of different industries, not just logging. We're right now, currently, we have a company trying to put a rock quarry in, and we're fighting that just because of it's going to kill the environment up here. It's going to kill our tourism. It's going to kill everything. But at the same time, it is what it is. It's a fact of life that we need rock. So, of course, they're going to want a quarry, but where they want it isn't okay. And I have a feeling if our team was to go up and say, hey, look, there's Bigfoot tracks, one, it'd be hushed up. And, it might come out open, and then, of course, we'd shut the quarry down. But do you want to? Because Bigfoot's all around us. We have Upper Finney, we have Baker Lake area. I mean, I was just reading BFRO reports, which is a Bigfoot reporting organization, a research organization, known nationwide. And, they are a reporting center for Bigfoot. That's all they focus on. And I was looking at them just about an hour or two ago, and I think the last report in Skagit County they had was from 2016 or 17, which that tells me people aren't reporting Bigfoot either, because I get reports about Bigfoot sightings almost all the time up here. But yeah, it would kill the industry. And I mean, think about all the people. I was listening to your guest last hour and a half, and it would kill the tourism, but at the same time, it might bring in extra tourism because people want to see Bigfoot. I'm hearing more reports about more aggressive Bigfoot lately than I have in the years I've been, researching this. You hear all these stories about. Usually he stays to himself, but I think if you enter into his territory, is when he's going to get aggressive.
Well, with the loggers up here, we had a story a number of months ago. I shouldn't even say a couple of months ago, but from last summer, I got tipped off to a story that about an hour away at this lake called Mahood Lake, that there was a logging company working. And for about a week, all of their equipment was terrorized by a Sasquatch. There were, 18, 19-inch prints all around where they were working, going in and out of the trees. And, the guys would be working, and then all of a sudden they'd come back, and there would be fresh tracks, scaring the living daylights out of these guys. And this is in the middle of nowhere. There is no population there. That's not one of those places where somebody just goes, hey, let's go have a good time and screw with some loggers and head up there.
Yep.
And we've now been tipped off to where that is, and that's where we are going to go. And we're going to check it on out here probably. Well, we got to wait for the ground, because right now up here when the ground is really frozen, it's called breakup. And so breakup is when all the ground and the tundra starts melting and starts hardening up, and all the ice below it turns everything really into a mud pit. So there's no point in even washing your vehicle for at least another month, which I'm okay with. But nonetheless,
or 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. But nonetheless,
you got the rainy season right after that, which brings all the mud in. So yeah.
Well, you get the rainy season down there. We don't get that. We're getting ready. Gosh, they're already, as of April 15th, putting in fire restrictions here, man. They're thinking it's going to be another bad year for fires around here. So hopefully not. But anyways, getting back to this whole logging area where things are going on, when you have something happen in the middle of nowhere, and these loggers are, each job, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't want to ruin their careers. They don't want to ruin their spots, much like you said with the owls down in Oregon or Washington State. I mean, that literally, ended an entire area so they could do an environmental assessment for the owls, the endangered owls. That's just the way it is. And if this is a creature that is the North American great ape, you definitely know that the logging companies, out of anybody, is going to keep it quiet. And these loggers that we have talked to, they are adamant adamant there is something big and something strange going on around these parts.
I would agree. And, I don't, I know you're with me on this. I don't follow the ape theory. I think there's too much supernatural that happens anytime they're spotted. You look at the cameras, you look at the disappearing tracks, you look at the Native American or First Nations lore. They always treated hairy man as mystical. So I don't buy the normal ape theory.
How come?
I think they're interdimensional. I would like to catch one on Spirit Box. I think that's and I know you've had, I think Bill Hauser had said he caught one on Spirit app or Spirit Box at one point, didn't he?
That I'm not sure. I will have to ask him.
Yeah, that's one of my missions this year when we start doing our mountain training up here with FMP is that we're going to try, one, getting any kind of response in the mountains with a Spirit Box. Because spirits can go anywhere. This is true. But when you're in the middle of the mountains, it's a little bit harder. So whatever comes through a Spirit Box in a remote area is better chance of being off-world or potentially a Bigfoot or other cryptid, I would think.
Well, you would think so, but I mean, at some point, we got to have a little bit more evidence than what we see. And I see where people are getting frustrated, Coop. I really do see where people are getting frustrated. They want not so much a body, they just want concrete proof. And if that means getting a body, which I don't think we'll ever get one,
no,
that means that it's alive and it's real and we can prepare for it. I think the days of these grainy videos or shaking videos or blurry videos are over. I really do. I think people have had enough of it. They've scoured YouTube looking for something credible. And of course, there's a bunch of people running around in gorilla suits, which I'm surprised none of them have been killed yet. But on the flip side, I don't blame people for rolling their eyes about even talking about this subject anymore because they're tired of everything that's going on. Just figure it out.
And, I was talking to Chris Dodge from the FMP team earlier before the show, and there's a TV series that came out called Fear the Woods. And supposedly there was a case here in Washington that BFRO was involved with where a Bigfoot chased two kids into a cabin. And they found hair, and they analyzed the hair, and it came back unknown species. That's the kind of evidence we need. Now, I haven't been able to validate or verify the story. In fact, after the show, after we get off the phone, I'm going to look up the show and try to find that episode and get more details. But that's the kind of evidence we need, because the more unknown species evidence we get, the closer we are to verifying that indeed there is a Bigfoot. If all the samples from Bigfoot hair that we get from different locations, they all come back the same DNA, the same unknown, it shows there's an unknown species, obviously, but it shows physical evidence.
Well, I'd like to see something.
It's not bear hair.
I'd like to see something like that. I'd like to see somebody take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. I would too.
How do we get it there?
Well, we need the evidence. And it does, I agree with you. It doesn't have to be a body. It can be hair. It can be a stool sample. You find scat on a trail that doesn't look like bear. I have bear up here, so I know what bear scat looks like and never seen Bigfoot scat, but I can imagine it wouldn't look the same. But that's the kind of evidence we need.
Gail has a question for you in the SOR Space Travelers. She is asking, if the location gets out, don't you think some idiot hunter is going to try to shoot one as a trophy hunter?
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's why usually I don't give specific locations. And I can say, like I said, Upper Finney and Baker Lake area, those are known areas. Those are actually known hot spots for most anyone that lives up here. So I'm not worried about it. They hide. I saw a Bigfoot track up on Upper Finney. I've heard Bigfoot knocks and had them actually respond intelligently with knocks here in my backyard. They're everywhere up here. This is number one, I believe it is, tied with Grays Harbor County in Washington State for Bigfoot. But would I run out and give them an exact pinpoint map? No, because I completely agree. You go putting that out in the public, then yes, you would have trophy hunters, and I don't agree with that either.
Well, I think that's the danger is, you look at television, they had hunting Bigfoot, they had killing Bigfoot, and that's the mentality that a lot of people have when it comes to this creature because we don't know. And of course, they paint the picture that Sasquatch is a very, very aggressive, evil-minded creature that will rip you limb from limb. Let's make it a little bit more dramatic. Rip your lips off your face. That's just the way it's portrayed. And a lot of people believe that.
I bet it goes the same with alien encounters. We got to shoot first. We don't know if they're friendly or not. Same thing with Bigfoot. We don't know if they're friendly or not. You shoot first, and you have a body. It's sad to say it's human nature, I think.
It could be. It could very well be, but at some point, there has to be some sort of happy medium because the video camera just isn't going to do it anymore, Coop.
I think the happy medium comes when we get the evidence we need and get the government to regulate. Kind of like they did in one province in Canada and one county here in Washington where they made killing Bigfoot illegal. I'd say that's what you need. It needs to be the next step.
I don't see a lot of people doing that because, let's face it, for the majority of people out there, they don't even believe it exists.
I think that's changing. At least in my area, it is. There's more, spirits are common. Hauntings are common. You still get the eye roll once in a while. But I think with the activity of UFOs, and up here where I live, Bigfoot, I'd say about 5 in 10 people have a Bigfoot story. Or some kind of, they've smelled the smell. They've heard the tree knocks. They might have even seen a track. Or they've heard a story from a friend. I think it's getting out, and I think the media is picking up on it with some of these docu-series are coming out with, and the movies are coming out with. And, people like your guest you had on with his documentaries, the more valid documentaries you have that come out, I think the more accepted it's going to be.
I don't know if people are ready for that. Monsters are different, man. Well, monsters are different. The stories that are going to go around, people go missing in the forest, it's Bigfoot. People go missing in the desert, it's Bigfoot. People drown in the river, it's Bigfoot. We're not good at bringing in new things, man. We're not good. We screw things up quite a bit, and that's what I worry about.
And I agree. I don't even think David Paulides is with Missing 401 has gone into the Bigfoot theory. I think he's got his own theories on it. And I completely disagree. Bigfoot's not the one causing people to go missing. Look at the 3-year-old recently, towards the beginning of the year, that described a bear that brought him back to camp and kept him alive for 3 days. That wasn't a bear. A bear would have had that kid for lunch, and a bear would have been hibernating. Because this happened, I think, back in January.
Yes, it did. In North Carolina.
Yeah. And, all the signs pointed to me to be a Bigfoot. And if a Bigfoot's going to keep a 3-year-old alive and bring him back to his family, bring him back to camp, which you hear those stories a lot. Kids go missing. It's a Bigfoot that brings them back to camp. You hear the aggressive stories. Yeah, I hear more aggressive stories coming out of the south with the swamp ape than I do here in the west coast, Pacific Northwest.
What about near Mount St. Helens? There's supposed to be some angry big feets around there, man.
Well, they're near a volcano. I don't blame them. But yeah, no, I'm not saying they're not aggressive. I think they're territorial. I think it depends on what the humans are doing in the area. I think it depends on if they have young with them, like any animal. If they have young, all animals are aggressive. So I think there's a lot of variables. I had a story here where there's a guy taking pictures up here in the mountains, minding his own business. Wasn't looking for Bigfoot. He was just taking scenic pictures. And he had a rock thrown at him. And it landed about 20 feet away. He said, yeah, okay, whatever. Rock fell off the mountain. And then the next rock came about 10 feet away. He said, yeah, okay. So he thought someone was just messing with him. So he said, you got to do better than that. And the next rock landed at his feet. And he said, okay, I got your point, and he left. I think you're going to get warnings from most of them. If you don't heed the warnings, that's when you're going to get attacked.
We got less than a minute here to go before we go to break here at the top of the hour. Eric Cooper is our guest from Forest Moon Paranormal. In your region, you say you've had wood knocks from your own backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Describe that. We got about 30 seconds here. Start to describe that. We'll carry that over.
It sounds similar to someone taking a log and knocking on a tree with a log. I've had people tell me it's probably just a woodpecker. No, I know the difference between a woodpecker and a big, a tree knock. Woodpeckers are loud, don't get me wrong, but it's a very distinct sound, like somebody's actually hitting a log against a tree. And if you call out to it, they'll do it again. That's been my experience.
Well, let's leave it right there until we get back from break here at the top of the hour. Eric Cooper is our guest tonight from Forest Moon Paranormal. We're talking Bigfoot. We're talking monsters. We'll see where it goes for the final half hour with Coop before we get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio in hour number 3 after this. At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio. Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
Canada's largest UFO conference is ready to roll in Toronto this September 21st and 22nd at the Alien Cosmic Expo. This year is about the experience. Listen to the stories of Dave Scott, Travis Walton, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Ryan Stacey, Richard Dolan, Leslie Mitchell-Clark, and more. Get your tickets now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you along for the ride. Tomorrow night on the show, Chris George Zuger, Chris Cogswell, they're back with Reality Paranormal. If you haven't heard it, time to listen in. We get into the scientific stuff. Can I say that? Scientific stuff regarding everything paranormal. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. On the digital side, hi to everyone listening in on Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio. Good to have you with us. Remember, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ecdesiast. Ecdesiast is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Support this show by doing a little shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. We're talking monsters tonight. And of course, Coop, before we do that, I do want to let you give a shout out about your Forest Moon Paracon. We're running the commercials now. I don't know if you've heard them, but we want to see a lot of people down in Cedro Woolley this fall.
Oh, it's going to be huge. So, of course, we have you coming. We have R. Keith Andrews coming. We have Mike Morin and James Jordan from Haunted Crew of Canada coming. We actually have a ghost walk, and it's going to be led by Mike Morin and Ross Allison of A Ghost and Spooked in Seattle. So it's going to be an awesome ghost walk at Northern State Dairy, one of the most haunted areas in Skagit County. So that's going to be cool. And we also have Dave Miller, the creator of, for example, he created the Executioner's Box. Really awesome spirit app, and I've actually seen it work. And so he's coming. He's going to be doing a presentation on spirit apps. And we have Dr. Chury coming. Dr. Chury is, Dr. Chury is a self-proclaimed prophet, essentially. He compares himself to Nostradamus. He's a healer, and he's going to be doing a workshop actually on hypnotherapy as well. So it's going to be a great event. Get your VIP tickets. I know Trip's been posting our Paracon website everywhere. Thank you, Trip. I had to give him a shout out because he's great on S4 as well, for pushing all the websites. So, yeah, it's September 28th here at the Cedar Woolley Community Center. A lot more is going to be coming out, more details. You can get your tickets on the website now, though.
Perfect. You were going to talk about wood knocks around your house. Describe where you live in Concrete, Washington, so people understand how much in the middle of nowhere you live.
So Concrete is about 30 miles east of Cedar Woolley, literally in the mountains. To be more specific, I actually live against Haystack Mountain, a little Haystack Mountain. So I can actually look out. Well, I can't because the house is in the way, but if I step outside and look south, I can't see anything because it's literally a mountain. I can be, well, you've seen it. I can actually be in the mountains in a 5-minute walk. And, I think the most unique knock I heard was when Eric Markham, our scientist, and a lot of your listeners know Eric Markham, he was here for his birthday last year. And we were in the gravel pit, just heading up the mountain. And he heard his first Bigfoot knock ever. He was thrilled. Because this particular knock, I've never heard anything duplicated either. It had tone to it. It was almost like someone took a drum and went bump, 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 bump. It had different tones to it. I've never heard it before. I've never heard that kind of a knock since. Now, bear in mind, there's no one that comes up here. It's not like there was another person that was up here that could have done that. It wasn't a woodpecker. There's no other sound that could have made that but a Bigfoot knock, if you've heard of one before. So I've always wondered, one, and I've got another story for you too, but if music is a way of speaking with them, or tones, and it's the same with aliens or alpha rulers. When you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, they use music. So Larry Anderson is our Bigfoot specialist here in FMP here in Skagit County, and he had a friend that went up and was playing his guitar. Just went out in the middle of the mountains to get away from people. No other people around, which isn't hard to do when you live up here. And he was playing his guitar. He played the guitar for like 2 or 3 hours. He left. He came back, and right where he was playing his guitar, there was a pile of flowers left for him. It's like Bigfoot gifted him flowers for playing his guitar. So, I think music is a way of reaching them. And it's just another theory we might try out this summer.
Well, that's interesting.
You know how they use music to calm people down?
Yes.
It makes you wonder if music would calm a Bigfoot down.
Question coming from Gail in the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook. She is asking, if the story is true at Mount St. Helens, didn't humans remove some Bigfoot from the area after the eruption? Could they still be angry over that? Could it be an ongoing issue?
It very well could be, because if those stories are true, yes, the National Guard went in. I believe it was 2 living and 1 deceased Bigfoot that they removed from the mountain after the volcano blew. And they're reportedly to have taken them to Fort Lewis and held there for a couple weeks and then transferred to a facility in California, which I've yet to find any information about the facility in California. They've supposedly, the government's got where they keep Bigfoot, and probably other things if it's true. But I think I'd be a little ticked off and irritated if my family members were taken too. So that's a very good point, Gail.
I always wondered if that story was true. So many people have heard that story, and I'm sure it's really gathered a life of its own. But I'm always curious whether or not that story is true. I would love it to be. That would make it a heck of a lot more fun and interesting. But on the flip side, we don't know. Have you ever talked to anybody or heard of anybody who was actually eyewitness to that? Because I know I haven't.
No, and I've looked. I found the closest I found was a message board where they were actually talking about that incident, and one guy said he was there. but that particular individual they didn't have their name up there. I couldn't track the name down. It was anonymous. I mean, if you were in a National Guard unit and you were one of the ones that witnessed it, guaranteed it would have been classified and you'd get in trouble for even talking about it. So if that individual was valid, then that would explain why you remained anonymous. I'll do some more digging, though.
Yeah, that would be
interesting. I would love to find a witness.
Oh, me too. Me too. I would absolutely love to find somebody talking about that, somebody who is there. But I mean, you worked around Fort Lewis when you were in the Army. You said you heard some pretty strange things going on there.
Yeah, definitely over by the old Madigan. I mean, there was a classified facility on Fort Lewis near the old Madigan, the old hospital. And it was weird because it was a very small facility. It had a very large parking lot. It was chain link fenced with razor wire on top, a camera, and a pin pad with a small building. So if you have a bunch of employees in a small building, where are they going? But probably down. It wouldn't be the first time because there was a training facility on North Fort that did go down. So I know there's underground facilities on Fort Lewis.
Do you think they were doing some sort of animal testing or something there?
Well, they've got an animal testing facility in Madigan, in the hospital. So I know they do.
So when
are
you hear
are they testing on Bigfoot? I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised.
So when you hear stories like that, does it kind of coincide with the crypto world, or is it just best not to know because you never really want to know what the military is doing?
Oh, no, I'd love to know what the military is doing. But that's just me. And I think it angers me because being military, it angers me that they would have our soldiers doing crooked crap like that. Just, that side of me gets angry.
So
and that shows how corrupt.
Go ahead.
That shows how corrupt the government is. We know the government's corrupt anyway, but to be corrupt enough to be experimenting on Bigfoot, experimenting on aliens, experimenting on humans. We know the CIA has in the past. MK Ultra is proof of that. But, how far will they go? And they using soldiers to do it? Yeah, that's just wrong.
Now, let me ask you, in regards to the sounds that people hear in the forest, how do we know that we're actually hearing a Bigfoot and not a woodpecker or chipmunks crawling up a tree or throwing nuts on the ground or other wild animals?
Experience. I think the first time you hear one, you'll know it. Your gut will know it. If you spend a lot of time in the woods, obviously, if you're from the city, anything's going to sound like a Bigfoot. You're absolutely right. A squirrel running up and down a tree. What was that? I think the more time you spend in the woods, more time you spend in the mountains. The first time you hear one compared to a woodpecker, you're going to know the difference. It all comes down to experience.
Interesting. So, if somebody is close by one of these creatures, should they approach it? What would your recommendation be?
I'd say get away from it because you don't know if it's going to be one of the aggressive ones. And a human against a Bigfoot? No. I think a Bigfoot and a bear would be interesting. I think a Bigfoot would tear it apart. But yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend approaching it because you don't know the nature of these creatures.
Interesting.
If you want to try getting a picture, sure. But I would very quietly try to sneak away, although I don't think being quiet would even work because I think they know you're there before you even recognize them.
Do you buy the fact that people claim that when they are in witness of a Bigfoot, that there are others around? Now, I realize he's a highly controversial, but Todd Standing tends to believe that there are 3 Bigfoot that almost work in kind of a sentry-type triangle where they have spotters, and they kind of rotate that triangle around to follow you, so it makes it seem like you are being followed from all different angles. What's your thoughts of that?
Well, and that sounds very dinosaur. That sounds very raptor. So if that was the case, that'd be an animal instinct or an animal reaction. When Tyler was our Bigfoot specialist on the team, he had to quit due to work and time. But he actually witnessed a family of them. So I don't know about three dominant ones keeping people at bay, like Todd described, but I know they have families based on Tyler's experiences, and they were very intrigued by his child because he took his kid with him when he went out investigating. And the way you gain their trust, and this comes from Tyler, is you go to the same area at least 2 to 3 times a week. Once they get used to your energy or your smell, after about 2 or 3 months, they might start tossing a rock at you, or you're coming out and showing themselves. But he, in his words, it takes a long time to gain their trust to where they're actually going to come out and show themselves to you. Now, the people you see coming out talking about they've had an experience, I think they probably entered an area that was protected, or entered, a certain territory, or the ones that got attacked by Bigfoot. Again, I think they either had young in the area and didn't know that person or the intention of the person, or they were protecting that particular environment. That's just my theory.
Do you think they know where people are at all times during a visitation of the forest? Do you think they are that acute to their surroundings?
I would have no doubt. The first time I had a Bigfoot knock, they toyed with us. They messed with us because we were actually about to leave, and they knew because it was clear woods. You couldn't miss anything, but we didn't see it. That's why I think they're interdimensional. I think they can cloak because we couldn't see anything. But I swear I probably stood on the log that he used to hit, and we looked for about 10 minutes and went back to our packs, put our packs on, started turning around to leave, and he did it again. Like, you didn't see me, I'm here, and we just okay, bye, and we walked out. Not out of fear, but just because if you're not going to show yourself, why are we going to stick around? We still had a 2-hour walk to get back out of the mountain. So,
how far does one have to go? We always hear, like in the Pacific Northwest where you are, or up here in British Columbia where I am, that you don't have to travel too far. Is that just myth, or is that just wishful thinking?
Well, it goes down to intention, because I don't think you're not going to know they're there unless they want you to. I don't think you have to go far, because looking at the reports, just a couple hours ago on BFRO, some reports are in the mountains. I don't think you'll ever find one in the city, but I don't think you have to go far out of the city to encounter one. But I don't think they'll go in the city because I don't think they intentionally want to be around people.
Do you think they're looking to skirt people, to get out of their way?
Essentially, yeah. Again, unless they have young. If they have something to protect, they're not going to get out of your way. They're going to warn you. And if you don't heed the warning, they're going to attack. That would be my assumption on that one. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to intentionally. Now, if you're getting too close to, again, they're young, like any animal, bears, coyotes, wolves, all of them do the same thing. If you have a bear cub run up to you, you better run.
Oh, yes. Mr. Freely is asking a question here in the Spreaker chat. He says, what's the purpose of throwing rocks at people? Is it to say hi or to scare them away?
That depends. Both of them. Because like in Tyler's case, they tossed rocks once they gained his trust, or once he gained their trust, actually. They tossed rocks playfully. But I've heard the other stories where they throw rocks to warn you to stay away. And if you don't listen to the rock, the rock throwing, it gets bigger. And again, and this goes to the woo-woo factor. I think they know your intention. If you go up there and you're deliberately hunting Bigfoot and you have a gun, they're not going to just throw rocks. They're going to throw a boulder. Every time I go on the mountain, I have my pistol at a minimum, and that's to protect myself and my kids if we encounter, by chance, a bear or a cougar, not to shoot it intentionally, but if it attacks, then I'll try to scare it off with it. Because I'm sorry, but a 9mm hollow points ain't that great of a defensive weapon, but it'll work. But we had guns when we were hunting for deer when we heard the first Bigfoot knocks, and they weren't threatening. We didn't feel intimidated or scared. So I think they know your intention. And I know you've heard the stories, Dave, where there were hunters that actually had Bigfoot in their sights, but actually felt compelled not to shoot.
I have heard those stories on numerous occasions, and Butch Witkowski has talked about that quite a bit, is even with Dogman. It's the same way.
Right. So I think that shows you right there, and it can go two ways. So some of the stories I've heard is because they have such a human-like face that they were, felt guilty felt like they're shooting a human. But at the same time, it shows more of a supernatural factor in some other cases. That you like have maybe not a voice tell you don't shoot, but you just have a feeling not to shoot.
Makes sense. We got about 1 minute left with you tonight, Coop. I want to say thank you for coming on in at the second half of the show here to talk about monsters and Bigfoot, especially in the Pacific Northwest where you are. Let everybody know where they can find your show. And, of course, the Forest Moon Paracon.
Okay, you can find Forest Moon Paracon at www.fmparacon.com. You can find S4 every Saturday at 11 p.m., and you can listen to the show straight from our website and at Spreaker at www.s-4radio.com.
Very cool. Keep that beard growing, buddy. Keep that beard growing.
Of course.
It's very important that we do. All right, buddy.
It is.
Take care. Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paracon and Forest Moon Paranormal out of Washington State. Definitely worth the drive to Washington State this September 28th. Make sure you head on down. I want to meet you. It's a number of months away, but it's a good time to start planning to head to Cedar-O-Woolley. FMParacon.com. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekends. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Coming up this September 21st and 22nd, all UFO eyes will be focused on Toronto for the 4th Annual Alien Cosmic Expo. Come listen to some of the biggest names and experiencers in ufology. Travis Walton, Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Paula Harris, Grant Cameron, Randy Kramer, and Spaced Out Radio's own Dave Scott. Tickets are on sale now at aliencosmicexpo.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother Is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on the mighty SOR. I am your host, Dave Scott. Sit in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters in the frozen Canadian tundra. But glad to have you with us. Remember, if you're looking for this show or any of our shows, you can check out our archives for free at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. And of course, dress yourself up in some Spaced Out Radio swag. Head to our website, spacedoutradio.com. Click on the shop tab. We got a bunch of gear there for you. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Now it's time for the weird, the wacky, the WTF in the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get into the weird, the strange, the really, that's actually going on, that happened. Yes, that's what we do. We're going to kick things off right in Washington State. Now, a gentleman named Robert Joseph Boulay is facing 21 charges. Now, Mr. Boulay owns a cute little bed and breakfast in Blaine, Washington called the Smuggler's Inn. Well, the problem is he was arrested in Canada and will be appearing in Surrey Provincial Court with several Immigration and Refugee Protection Act charges. You see, Mr. Boulay faces 7 counts of counseling offenses related to knowingly inducing, aiding, and abetting people illegally attempting to enter Canada. The alleged instances happened between May of 2018 and March of 2019, so this is pretty recent. Yeah. The Smuggler's Inn, go figure, is located on the U.S. side of Zero Avenue. In 2010, the Canadian Geographic published an article on Boulay and his experience watching people as they illegally cross the border. He said, "We see people in our yard almost every night. Just keep your eyes open. We don't know how long this has been going on." But an RCMP officer who was in the general area at the time questioned why he was out of his car in the area and subsequently let him go. But they arrested him. He's scheduled to be back in court tomorrow. Smugglers in, smuggling people from the U.S. to Canada. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. All right. I don't know if I like this story. This seems pretty harsh. In Wailuku, Hawaii, Judge Rhonda Liu has imposed a very, very stiff sentence against 21-year-old Christopher Montaliano Jr. You see, the Hawaiian man has been ordered not to drink any of his favorite soft drinks for 4 years while he's on probation for car theft. Yeah, what's his favorite drink? Pepsi. I would be pulling my hair out. How do you do it? Montiliano lied to police when he was arrested with the car in Maui last June, Liu said in court. Apparently, he told officers that his cousin allowed him to drive the car and that he was on his way to buy soft drinks. So Judge Liu, knowing his addiction to Pepsi, said, "No more Pepsi for you for 4 years." After she was told it was his favorite soft drink. She calls it the Pepsi deprivation syndrome. Now, Montiliano spent 7 days in jail following his arrest. During that time, he learned the importance of complying with the law, according to his attorney, Josh James. "I'm not stealing cars anymore," says Montiliano. He's also ordered to do 100 hours of community service and has a $100 fine. I mean, how do you go about saying no Pepsi for you? I mean, as a Pepsi freak that I am, I'm abashed by this sentence. I'm just taken aback. This one hurts. Hits you right where it counts. And I haven't even had a Pepsi tonight. I'm like shaking. But nonetheless, I have a feeling this is one that he actually may break. I don't know if I could do it. I really don't. Interesting. Let's head up to the International Space Station for a little bit, shall we? Now, the International Space Station, we know, is home to all kinds of potentially dangerous bacteria, but scientists are unsure whether they still pose a threat. So, apparently, the ISS, according to a new NASA study, is full of fungi and grotesque little things. The microorganisms living on the space station include potentially dangerous bacteria that can cause illness and maybe even responsible for corroding the station itself. That's not an easy fix. It's not like you can just go down to the local Home Depot and pick up a couple of 2x4s to fix this thing. Researchers gave astronauts Terry Verst and Jeffrey Williams a bunch of surface wipes to collect bacteria all over the ISS. Those wipes, along with the bacteria and fungi they picked up, were then sent back to Earth to be analyzed by researchers of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California. We broadcast in that area on KZFX. The researchers found all sorts of bacteria growing inside, including Staphylococcus, Enterobacteria, and Methylobacteria. As far as its microbiome goes, whatever the hell that is, the ISS tends to resemble gyms, offices, homes, or any other typical human hangout. No kidding. When's the last time they brought some wet ones up on a shuttle to wipe that stuff out? Maybe some Febreze. On one level, according to the study, it makes sense. After all, humans have been living on the ISS for nearly 20 years. It's not surprising that it's starting to look like a gym or an apartment. But the study's authors also found traces of more dangerous bacteria like Staph aureus, which are more commonly found in places like hospitals. However, they're not concerned about the astronauts' health unless the space station gets some sort of mechanical eating disease. If they were on Earth and living in this environment, they could stand a good chance of getting sick. In space, it's not clear if the same rules apply. Now, I'm sure you saw this dude on YouTube or something. This guy went viral. It was February 2013. Local news station in Fresno, California, was on the hunt for a young hitchhiker who reportedly saved a pedestrian from an attacker. His name was Kai, talking all surfer-like, his hair all frizzy, wearing the bandana. Yeah, gave that wicked interview. Well, the interviewer, if you remember, said, "Hey, do you have a last name?" "Nah, bro," he said, "I don't have anything." Well, apparently, he's not such a good guy after all. See, Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker, which racked up more than 7 million views on YouTube and an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, has apparently got himself in trouble. Real name Caleb McGilvery is accused of killing Joseph Galfi, a 73-year-old land use attorney, in May 2013, 3 months after he made his big viral debut. Now, the 30-year-old has pleaded not guilty to the charge, even though he does face life in prison if convicted. Still trying to live out his 15 minutes of fame. He said, "I've met a lot of cool people who've been reaching out through the internet, mostly contacting me via Facebook. There's about 10,000 messages in my inbox from people all across the country." However, not very good. Not very good. Police apparently found Galfi dead in his home on May 13th, 2013. He had been beaten to death. Messages found on the victim's phone pointed to a viral star as a suspect. Authorities would later determine McGilvery left the house, walked to a nearby train station, and traveled to meet a fan. Not very good. While in jail on his murder charge, McGilvery initially tried to keep his viral fame going, releasing recordings from custody and attempting to leverage his fan base for legal fees. 6 years after his internet debut, however, it remains to be seen how much of that fan base still exists or even remember him. He'll be in court soon. Now, here's a dude, former lawyer, 58 years old, Andrew Lippy, paid $8 million for a private island in Key West, Florida. So what does he do to celebrate? He goes and rips off Kmart for $300 worth of goods. So this guy, a few days ago, opens up the bank account. He's a rich guy. Says, "I'll buy myself an island. $8 million, no problem." But wanting to pay his bill at Kmart for about $300, no. He apparently was caught with Keurig coffee machines and other household items, then returned the boxes for a refund. So he bought it all, didn't want to return the items, just the boxes, for the refund. He sealed them to make it look like they hadn't been open, according to the report. When Kmart staff looked inside the boxes after issuing him a refund, they found he had basketballs and pillowcases in there, but not the actual goods. March 30th, he bought the $150 Keurig machine, but returned it to the store the next day with its box, asking to return it. Staff later looked in, found a basketball. His island's pretty nice, too. Big house. Has his own roundabout driveway. Very saved by the bell inside. Lots of bright colors. Yeah. I don't know who does that, but I guess it happens. All right, final story of the night. This is what can happen if you allow your 3-year-old toddler to play with your iPad. Fair warning, parents. Fair warning. So a DC-based journalist has been locked out of his iPad for nearly half a century, or 25 million minutes, after his 3-year-old son tried to use it without the correct password. Now, it looks fake, but apparently it's very, very real, said New York writer Evan Osnos. Includes a screenshot of it, that this iPad is disabled for 25,536,000 minutes. Kind of freaky. Now, my son has done this before, but we've always been able to get in with the password. I don't know if you report this to Apple. Now, according to Apple's guidelines, users experiencing the problem are advised to restore and update their settings through iTunes. Any data that's not backed up, however, will be lost. Osnos told the New York Daily News he's still locked out of it. Although time has gone a few hundred minutes, it's looking like we still got 25 million to go. On that note, it's the thought of the Dave. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as followed. What do you believe that Sasquatch really is? What do you think? I'm still sticking with mine. Interdimensional. Bring me the tinfoil. Dizwit on Twitter. Definitely not a simply flesh and blood ape. I think I can recognize those close correlations of the phenomena with other paranormal, aka Fortean experiences. They have a trickster nature, but display a control over reality, which we do not currently possess. Paranormal Adventure says, nope. Solving one unknown phenomenon with another is bad logic. Flesh and blood and highly elusive, intelligent ape. Let's see what else is on Twitter here. William, not sure. Just not the hide-and-seek champion. It's a lot more complicated than that. Oh, I would agree, William. I would agree. Let's see, who else here? What else do we got? Well, I can't use Bart L's. That's a little Bart buoy there. Can't do that. Carl on Twitter. I think Sasquatch is part of what we call the phenomenon, appearing as if for the benefit of the observer, perhaps a harbinger of a message or warning, transgressing dimensional boundaries for reasons unknown. They frequent certain individuals. Slytwee says, the next step in human evolution, pardon me. What else we got here? Francesca. Too many years gone by. If he was there, then he may be deceased. I think there's more than one, though. Pretty sure. Gil. Is there really one? And if so, why haven't there been any dead bodies to prove it? Do they bury their own dead? Good question. We don't know. Harolyn. Distant relatives of Princess Diana of Themyscira? Okay. Tim says, I don't know. It's above my pay grade. Benjamin says, hey, Yeti is on holidays. Wrong country. That's Nepal, man. That's Nepal. Got a great book from there. Thank you, Nelson Dellis. Russell. Sasquatch is one of the many manifestations, along with lake monsters, Mothman, and other cryptids that are temporary what does he say this? Transmogrification? Oh, this could be a password. Transmogrifications of energy by intelligent entities within the super spectrum. They shut down automobiles. EM effect is rapid atomic decay. Gamma rays drains electricity off. They are witnessed by individuals who are psychic and sometimes others who are in their vicinity. Sometimes a little puddle of silicon carbide is found where the footprints stop. The name slag type substance found at UFO landing areas. J. Allen Hynek collected a trunk of the stuff when he worked on Project Blue Book. Sean, I believe they are a multidimensional watcher species, probably placed here in ancient Sumerian times, most likely by the Anunnaki. Joyce, I don't want to believe. Renee, okay, Dave, thanks for this loaded question, but since we really don't know what they are, it is pure and simple guesswork and theoretical answers until we have more physical evidence to go by. And as this question gets answered here, we will have a plethora of those. Very nice use of the word plethora. Time for one more. Alex, realistically and based on what we know so far, we're looking at only one possibility, a bipedal primate that has evolved either from a human ancestor or an ape ancestor. I will throw one more in. Marty, I believe that Sasquatch and Yeti are the species that ancient aliens like the Anunnaki modified to create modern humans. That's where we're going to leave it. Thank you for playing in the Thought of the Day. Big thanks to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Click on the News tab. Everything brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Big thanks to Seth Breedlove and Eric Cooper for coming on the show tonight, talking Bigfoot and monsters. Tomorrow night on the show, Chris Cogswell, Chris George Zuger, yes, it's Chris Grayard for Reality Paranormal, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Big thanks to every one of you listening in at work, at home, in your cars, in the chat rooms, on Twitter, wherever you may be. Thanks for hanging out with me and having a good time, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.